Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this, whatever day it is, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for tuning in one more time to Level Up Live for Limitless Leaders. I'm your host, Simmone L. Bowe. So excited to be in your company again. Thank you for being an active participant in the show. I love the comments and everything. It's really awesome. And the feedback. And it's really appreciated, and it helps me to know if I'm on the right track and hitting the things that you need me to hit, as the things that you may be dealing with in your personal and professional lives. This series has been just a phenomenal one as we talk about leadership, what it is, and how leaders use power in organizations to interact with people and to get results. And so we are wrapping up this series with an amazing person, someone that one of those great, bright stories of meeting people virtually. We've never met in person, but we've been following each other and supporting each other online for a good while now. And she is someone that I would call a colleague and a friend, even though we've not met in person. And I just know when we meet in person, it's going to be amazing. So I want to introduce to you and allow her to tell you more about herself, Miss Julie Turney. Welcome to Level Up Live.
Oh, Simone, thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here and to support you. And good morning to everyone. Good evening, good afternoon to everyone watching, listening. It's great to be here today. So, my name is Julie Turney, and I am an HR for HR coach. But I've been in the HR profession for over just about 16 years or over. I stepped away from core corporate HR to consult, but also to support the people in my space because being in this space is not easy in any area of it because HR is just so broad. And I struggled a lot through my HR career, just not having support or not having the right tools and equipment that I needed. There's only so much you can learn from theory, but in practice, HR is a whole lot more. And so connecting the dots is one of those things that I had challenges with throughout my career. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be great to just be able to help my people, my colleagues, my friends, to be able to make those synergies from theory to practice based on the experiences that I've had. But I also love to read, research, learn. And so I do that. I take away a lot of that pain for my clients by helping them to create strategies, giving them templates, giving them coaching support, helping them through difficult times, especially burnout and compassion fatigue. Because a lot of times as HR, we just think we're burned out, we think we're tired, but what we're experiencing sometimes at the same time is compassion fatigue because we're holding space in our heart, our minds for so many people in our organizations. There comes a point where we start to get a little, where we stop caring, where we stop feeling like we have the energy to care, to support, and that's compassion fatigue. And so I help HR professionals to combat HR burnout and compassion fatigue, especially, and helping you to move from burnout to brilliance and be the best HR professional that you can be. I'm also an author, a public speaker, and I also host my own podcast show and my own LinkedIn live show. So it's really an honor to support Simone today and have this very much needed conversation. Does that help, Simone? Does
Oh, yes. I told y'all she's amazing. Oh, my goodness. I was listening to you and saying loud, I need to sign up. I need to sign
I'm right here. I'm right here.
And
No judgment. I'm
and the thing is, as leaders, we're laughing about it, but it's very serious. We have to
yes.
understand when we need support and when we need a coach. We may be coaching, we may be doing all of these things for other people, but
Yeah,
are we taking care of ourselves?
exactly.
This is the $1 million question that
Hmm.
sometimes we don't answer for ourselves because we're always so busy giving and helping and supporting other people.
Yep.
So I wanted to, and you kind of answered this question, but I want you to
Yeah.
dig into this a little bit more of
Sure.
why you saw it as important to focus on the well-being of the HR professional. And I want to ask this question because as we look at leadership and power and influence, the HR professional, the HR function in some organizations can be seen as very powerful,
Mm-hmm.
especially from the employee perspective. There's
Yep.
a lot of expectation from the
Mm-hmm.
employee perspective that HR is to be their advocate, right? Whether it is for policy
Yeah.
development, enforcement of policy, standing up for justice and what is right, and all of those things, which, as you mentioned, is very heavy. So,
Yeah.
as we are carrying this weight of both the employee and the employer,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes our well being is overlooked, especially when you are not supported in the organization.
Absolutely. I think you kind of answered the question, right? But ultimately, I lived a lot of experience of lack of support, lack of um, understanding for my role or appreciation for my role and what I could bring to the table. And I think I've experienced both working in an HR team. I've experienced being a department of one. And both of them can come with their challenges and different complexities. But at the end of the day, for me, it's how you manage the employee experience and how the things that happen in each of those experiences impact you. So when you think about as HR sitting in the middle, straddling the middle, dealing with leaders, dealing with employees, and recognizing that heavy is the load that you bear. Because as you said, employees expect you to be the advocate, but they also expect you to be the happy one, the chipper one, the one that has it all together, the one with all the answers. And your leaders almost expect the same thing. They expect you to understand their needs. They expect you to understand what is required to help the business make money, where the competition sits, how they can combat the competition and get the right talent, the best talent through the door. They expect you to be on your game every day, 24/7. But when you're dealing with work experiences and life experiences, and then your own personal experiences, and everything converges, then it's a recipe for fracture. It's a recipe for burnout because there's only so much you can do. And if you are a department of one, no matter how many people you're serving, whether it's 50, 100, 1,000, you're dealing with human lives every single day. And I always remember one of my friends, Kalila Olokanola, always says that HR professionals are impact architects. We are the architects of the people experience in the organization.
Yeah.
And if you think about the detail, the intricacies of work that goes into an architect creating something on paper to it becoming a real life structure, there's a lot of work, there's a lot of detail in that. And if you think about an HR professional creating that experience alone, if you think about an HR professional creating that experience even in a team, and especially if you have dynamics where HR people of themselves are so prideful and they don't understand the importance of teamwork, then you can start to feel even unsafe in your HR team, right? So when
Yeah.
all of these things start to happen and all of these different dynamics start to come together, for me, I felt like where is the safety net?
Mm-hmm.
Where is the HR for HR? And I
Mm-hmm.
started my search through my burnout journey. And I struggled to find the right therapist and the right coach and even the right mentors. Because at the end of the day, if you're looking to be mentored by someone who is an HR professional that you aspire to someday be in their role, recognize that they're busy. And as much as they want to make time for you, it's hard for them to make time for you. If you are looking for a coach, a career coach is very wide, vast, can help you with certain things, but when you think about the HR career and the different facets of HR, and you don't have a coach who understands those things, you're going to get very little out of them. And in my therapy experience, while I did experience some really good therapists, I also felt like there were moments where I was teaching my therapist how to how to help me. And I didn't want to do that because I feel no matter what you're doing in that experience, it always baffled me that they never understood the things that HR professionals went through. And so sometimes I'd sit in a therapy session and my therapist would be like, you have to deal with all of that. Like, I never even thought that that was what HR did. And so it felt more like my sessions were about teaching them about HR versus them giving me the support that I needed. And so I was like, no, this is not working for me at all. And I started having conversations through the pandemic with other HR professionals from all over the world about their experiences. I started sharing stuff on LinkedIn, and I started through the comments, through the DMs, through the one on one virtual coffee conversations, realizing I was not alone, number one, and that everyone else was looking for a solution, that the same solution that I was looking for. But I started my coaching journey like 7 years ago, coaching in organizations, coaching leaders. And then I started coaching other HR professionals as well. And I realized when my position was made redundant in 2020, and I was thinking, well, like, what next? I'd already started to chart my course. I'd already started recording my podcast. I'd already started speaking publicly. And I'd already started my coaching journey of coaching other HR professionals. So it only seemed logical to think about what I liked and doing that and doing
Yes.
that every single day. And that's what I do now. And it's funny to me that I'm in this space now, but it's also an honor for me
Yeah.
to be in this space now doing what I love, supporting the people who need it, as far as I'm concerned, the
Yeah.
most.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because heavy is the load and the burden that we carry. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times, because we are supporting professionals, lower, upper, different spaces in the organization, we feel like we have to have it all together. We feel like we have to have all the answers. And the truth is, we don't. We don't have to have it all together. We don't have to have all of the answers. But what we can do is find the right spaces that are safe enough for us to get the answers and get the support. And that's why I'm here.
Absolutely. And it's so needed. It's so needed. So, this is again the power of purpose when we find out who we are called to and what we want to serve the world,
Mm-hmm.
and we tap into how we want to do that, how we utilize our gifts, our talents, our expertise, our experiences, our pain, how we use all of that
Yeah.
to help and serve others. That is what purpose is.
Yes, it is.
And
Yeah.
that is how we continue to meet the needs of the planet.
Mm-hmm.
When we each tap into that and commit, we give our yes and we go for it. So I want
Mm-hmm.
to commend you for doing that,
Oh,
and
thank
for
you.
making such a difference in this area for all of us.
Thank
So
you.
in this series, we've talked about the negative effects that the abuse of power has on an organization. But I want to flip that script today because we could talk about the negative
It's
all
true.
day.
It's true. It's true.
But I want to talk about the impact that great leadership can have on an organization. And some people may be saying out there, you know, I've never had a great experience. Like, great leadership, what is that? It does not exist. It actually does. I
It
can
does.
point to an experience, actually, my very first real job, I like to call it, because I worked in our family business as a child, and you're coming up, and you just learning and being a part and
Yes.
hearing what's going on and all of that stuff. But I'm talking like a real job outside of family, getting my own
Yeah.
check. And I will never forget, that was as a teacher. I was a junior high school English teacher. And our principal at the time, to me, was such an amazing woman.
Mm.
She had she had presence.
Yep.
She commanded respect, but she also gave respect. She was very
Mm-hmm.
respectful. She was genteel. You know, she had that
Mm.
charm, that old world class. I guess
Mm.
I don't know how to
Right.
just put it into words.
I
I'm trying,
get you. I get you. Mm-hmm.
right? And she also was very knowledgeable. She was able to connect with people.
Yeah.
When she gave feedback, it was very positive. So
Mm-hmm.
you walked away knowing that you didn't get everything right, but you didn't feel like a failure.
Yes.
And she did things to connect us as a team. I always remember every Christmas, she hosted the entire staff at her home for a Christmas party. And I'm telling you, it was a lavish affair. Lots of food,
Mm-hmm.
drinks, music. We would dance all night and just let our hair down at the end of that Christmas term. And it was something that we looked forward to.
Yeah.
So that's my one of my examples of
Mm-hmm.
what a great leader is. So if you
Mm-hmm.
could help us define what is great leadership, what does that look like in an organization, and how does that positively impact our organizations and teams?
Mm. Great leadership looks like the best cupcake you've ever eaten. If you think about, like, I'm a foodie, and if I think about the best meal I've ever had and how much I've enjoyed it, soaked it in, that's what great leadership looks like to me. A great leader recognizes the importance of giving you the best experience you could possibly have with them. A great leader serves. Like, leadership, like you said before, is about serving. The higher you climb, and this is the one thing I think a lot of people don't get, but the higher you climb, the more servitude is in your bucket list of services that you offer, right? A good leader serves. A good leader sets good examples. They practice what they preach. They may not always be great at it, but they practice what they preach. A good leader is a teacher, and they want you to be your best. A good leader is someone who recognizes that they're not going to be there forever. And so they're going to do the best that they can to create replicas of themselves, so that when people walk away, they go, if I ever get to lead a team, I want to lead it just like Simmone.
Mhm.
If I ever get to lead a team, I want to lead it just like Sheba, because you recognize that they care about you, your personal development, your professional development, but they care about you as a human being in your life. That's what leadership, good leadership, looks like. And I think we've all heard that expression about, what makes people leave organizations, right? Sometimes people leave an organization even though they love the work, because they can't deal with the leader that is put before them.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, a good leader is constantly thinking about how they can create the best experience for the people that they lead on any given day. A good leader is vulnerable. Vulnerability is not weakness. Vulnerability means that you're willing to share your triumphs and your defeats. You're willing to recognize that you don't have all the answers, and that's why you work with smart people, people who are smarter than you, right? So that they can help you ultimately achieve your goal. And I always remember watching, I don't know if you've ever watched the Netflix special, Emily in Paris. But I always remember the first episode of Emily in Paris, where her boss is sending her to Paris because she's just found out that she's pregnant. And she says, I'm not training you to replace me. I'm training you. I want you to step into my shoes so that you can go on and do great things. And that stood out for me. I want you in these shoes because I can't wear these shoes forever. That's how a good leader thinks, right? And even though there are lots of other positions in an organization, how do you grow as a leader if you don't allow your people to grow? And then a good leader also recognizes that when your team fails, you know how to handle that. You embrace that failure. You don't call your people out. You don't throw them under the bus, but you recognize that we've all failed here. How do we make this better? How do we improve this going forward? And a good leader knows how to even make failure seem acceptable. We have a problem with embracing failure in our Caribbean culture.
Yes.
Period. We have a
Yes.
serious when someone fails, it almost feels like it's the end of their life. They
Yeah.
feel like they're about to lose their job. Failure equals learning.
Yes.
And if we embrace failure as a learned experience, then we're going to have a completely different perception of it. And I think good leaders do that. When you put all of those things together that I've talked about, you create an engaged workforce. You create a loyal workforce. Nobody is going to want to leave you if you're creating all of those experiences. You're listening to people's opinions. And even if you can't take everything they say on board, at least they know you heard it and you're willing to implement it if you can, when you can, where you can. And even if you don't have that opportunity, you're willing to allow them to develop and grow. You may not be able to promote people, but people feel like they're constantly learning something new from you.
Yeah.
You can't replace that knowledge. Even when they move on, they'll be able to tell someone in their experience, oh my gosh, I had such a great leader and I learned this from Simmone and I'm going to carry it everywhere I go.
Yeah.
That's what good leadership is about.
It's true. And we sometimes forget that people watch our lives. They watch what we do. They watch how
Yeah.
we handle things, how we deal with mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
how we deal with failure, and how our approach to being a lifelong learner. We can't just tell people you go do this and then we're
Exactly.
not going to do it. People are modeling just like children do.
Yeah.
It amazes us how much children absorb from
Mm-hmm.
what's around them until we see them talk about it or say your words and they're like, oh,
Yes.
they were they were
They were
listening to
listening. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and so leadership is the exact same way, and those positive impacts we know are priceless.
Yes.
Engagement, look at the Gallup polls every year. That number is consistently high. I think a
Yes.
94% of people who are
Yes.
not engaged. So can you imagine to have
Mm-hmm.
people who are engaged, people who don't want to leave, people
Yeah.
who want to contribute, people who want to go the extra mile.
Mm-hmm.
All of
Yeah.
those things are positive impacts that your organization has. And when you have that, then you have people giving their best,
Yeah.
giving their best ideas, their best effort, their creativity, and they
Mm-hmm.
are throwing themselves into their work. What do you get? You get results.
You do. You do.
That bottom line shoots up, all of the
All the
things that
time.
you want.
Yep.
Let's do it through positivity and do it through great leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So, can leaders intentionally be good? We have that whole thing
Ooh.
about having random acts of kindness and just going out
Yes.
there and being kind to people and showing compassion. So, when we look at being deliberately kind and
Mm-hmm.
fair and inclusive and
Yes.
all of these things that we talk about today in today's workplace, can leaders do that intentionally? Because sometimes we say,
Yeah.
well, you don't know the culture that I have to work in. You don't know the environment, the company, the demands, the pressures. You don't know. You don't understand.
Yes.
Can I be good in
Yes.
my organization?
The short answer is yes. You can. You can be good and intentional, right? It's about leading with heart. If you are a leader who leads with heart and you understand the importance of that kindness plays in the workplace, then it's going to make it a lot easier for you. I remember an experience that I had of working with someone who wasn't my direct manager, But I loved being in their space because they were just so kind. Because every experience that I ever had with that manager was such a pleasant experience. Even when we were dealing with the most difficult people situations, it was easier to deal with them with that manager because they were just so good. They were so kind. And what I loved about them is that even though they were leading their team, they made time to support other people, see other people in the organization. There is nothing more precious, there is nothing more powerful than when someone knows that you see them, that you hear them, that you feel them. There is nothing more powerful. And if you can do that for someone who is in your team, that's wonderful. But I think a good leader, an intentional leader, is someone who, when you can observe them in other environments, in other settings, but they see and hear other people. So they don't think about their department in a silo. So it's like I'm the head of marketing. So all I see is the people in my team, and I want the people in my team to be great. But a great leader might see someone else in customer service who has the potential to be good in your team. You see what I'm saying? Or they have the potential to spot talent somewhere else for someone else. I think that those things are the things that are really important in a great leader. You don't, kindness is all encompassing. Leading with heart is all encompassing, which means that you're not just going to do it for the people in your immediate remit and circle. You are going to exude it. It's going to ooze out of you so much that anyone or everyone in your space is going to either want to be a part of what you're trying to do, or they're going to want to be a part of whatever experience you have in your organization. But a great leader can spot that. They can see people, they can hear people, they can feel them, they can hold place for them and make people feel like they belong. So yes, they can be good. They can be intentional about being kind to others in the workplace. And then when difficult situations arise, people feel psychologically safe to have conversations with that leader. People feel that if they catch COVID, there's going to be some kind of support, right? If they lose a loved one, there's going to be that above and beyond. If they are having a baby, whether it's a male or a female employee, that you celebrate that and you don't feel like, oh, now I'm going to lose this person and I can't get my work done. No, but you're going to give, of your heart, you're going to see that person in their moment of vulnerability, recognize it for what it is, and give them the necessary support that they need. Because in those human moments, also adds to how people feel about working in your organization, adds to their loyalty, adds to their engagement.
Yeah.
Being human, you can't win. You can't lose. Sorry. You cannot lose being human. So, yes, you can be good. And you can be good without people feeling that your kindness is being taken for weakness.
Yeah.
You just have to strike the balance, but it is possible.
Absolutely, I completely agree with that. And people have been looking, how has my organization been handling the whole pandemic and the
Mm-hmm.
COVID experience that people have, and they will use that as a determination on,
Oh, yes.
do I want to stay with this company or not?
Exactly. When we think about the great
Exactly.
resignation, right? Or
Right.
the great reshuffling that is happening globally, right? And
Mhm.
that's not just happening in finance, in marketing, in legal, in compliance. It's happening in HR too. Because HR professionals are recognizing, look, these people are not who they say they are. They really don't care about people. And if I want to be the heart-centric leader that I purpose to be, then I can't stay here anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of employees are recognizing that you can go anywhere. LinkedIn is where I live daily. And so even looking on LinkedIn and you look at the people, the HR people for me, the HR people for me on LinkedIn, when I see on a daily basis the people who left without a plan B just because the organization was so toxic,
So
they
toxic.
couldn't take it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The people who left from HR because they just could not cope with how their organization was dealing with this pandemic. The experiences that I've heard of organizations not needing to let people go, but they let them go and use COVID as an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those things weigh heavily on HR professionals' minds and on their hearts.
Yeah.
If you are not leading from a space of kindness and from a space of true caring and intention, you're going to lose your people. You're going to, even now, as we think about returning to work, and you think about all of those positions, even the HR roles. Do we need to be in the office every day, or can we just go in when we need to have face to face meetings? Do you need to call us all the time at 11 o'clock, 8 o'clock? Do you? You don't.
That's right.
Stop it.
That's right.
All of those things are now giving people, now that we've had the opportunity to step back and see what we really want out of life,
Right.
we're making better choices.
Mm-hmm.
And we're saying we're not going to put up with these toxic organizations anymore. More power to you. And a lot of those people are losing their business, are
Yeah.
having to shut their doors
Mm-hmm.
because people don't want to work in those spaces of toxicity
No.
anymore.
No.
Leading with heart and intention and kindness,
Yeah.
those people will win all day, every day.
It's true. It's true. And just being, as you said, building trust, being respectful of
Mm-hmm.
people's time and their personal lives and all of that.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised to know how far that goes. I made that a personal practice because I
Yes.
got caught up in that corporate trap, in my first real like executive job.
Mm-hmm.
They're calling on you all the time, all
Yeah.
hours of the night, the expectation, even if you're off, you're on vacation, you're chained to your phone, you're always answering emails and all that. And we brought in a presenter who shared on that and shared on boundaries and whatnot. And so we made it a practice as managers that we weren't going to do that. If
Yeah.
we had to send an email after work hours, that we'd leave it in our drafts or we'd schedule it to
Yes.
go out at a certain time. Like practices that are respectful of people,
Exactly. Yep.
and the fact that you should have a life outside of
Yes.
work should not be your in all and all of everything. You
We
know,
should work. We should work to live. We should not be living to work.
absolutely.
It's just we can't be, it's not sustainable. And this is how HR especially burns out even
Yes,
more, because we are not practicing those things for ourselves. We're not creating those boundaries that we need to create. I wanted to comment on Sheba's comment where she said, COVID exposed the true values of organizations. It
yeah,
really did show up a lot of people.
did
It showed up a
leadership.
lot of, yes, it showed up a lot in leadership in organizations.
Hmm.
And I've had thousands, thousands of conversations with people, especially in the HR space, about their organizations, their leadership, and how their leaders show up, and that they've recognized they're not going to tolerate this anymore.
It's true.
And these organizations will last for a time and then they will be a memory,
That's right.
because we have something called social media now,
Hmm.
and organizations can be one tweet away from complete annihilation,
It's true.
one LinkedIn post away, Facebook post away
Hmm.
from complete and utter destruction.
Hmm.
Because if you create a bad experience for people, have you ever gone on Reddit and looked and seen the comments? If you type in COVID-19 and you'll see all of the experiences on Reddit that people have had with their organizations from COVID. You don't need to go on Glassdoor for sure, but you could. But there's so many bad experiences on there. If you want to look at whether or not you should work for a specific organization, if you're looking to change roles, go on Reddit and check some of the comments. Type in the organization name, check the comments, check Glassdoor, check LinkedIn. People are leaving comments.
Yeah. And
People
some
are
of those
sharing their
comments,
stories.
some of them are
Scary.
scary. You're like, whoa, and they are not holding anything back.
Yeah, at all. At all.
All it's like, ooh,
Mm-hmm.
and so this is some of the things that I would share with organizational leaders as well, that we have to be so mindful of the employer brand.
Yes.
Because when you have this type of thing, you have people who are leaving, your turnover is getting high, the comments that are being made about the organization, you're selling one thing, out there in the public and in your job ads and all these sort of things, but then people are getting these real life experiences from people, and they're saying, hey, wait a minute now, I'm already in a toxic
Yes.
situation. I am not going to sign up for more of that. And so
Yes.
they pass you by, and you wonder why you may not be able to attract the talent that you're looking for. Is because
Mm-hmm.
people do not want these experiences
They don't.
anymore.
They don't. They don't.
That's
People
it.
want to have balance. People want to be able to love their families, experience their families, and not feel exhausted to love and care for the people that love them the most. And they want to be able to strike that balance, but they want to do work that's meaningful and purposeful. And they want to have leaders that care about that and that radiate that, and that will help them to grow and thrive. But leaders also have to feel that for themselves. So if leaders don't feel that they're being supported, that they're being given opportunities to thrive, and they're just being pushed to deal with the bottom line of it all, then how do they radiate that to their teams, right? So the whole ecosystem of an organization, from the shareholders down, has to show and be on the same page when it comes to the people experience.
Yeah.
And the HR professionals, as architects of that experience, need to be able to help them curate that experience in its totality, including the humanness of it all.
Yeah. And that's really where I wanted us to end today. What are some quick tips, advice that we could give leaders who they may be a business owner, or a senior leader, HR, whoever you may be in your organization, and you want to change now the perception, the feeling, the practices, that you may have a toxic culture, your leaders may have this toxic brand, and you want to rebrand, you want to change that, you want to
Yeah.
show that we are great leaders, and we do care, and we want to ensure that people have a great working experience, and you don't want it to come across as fake, because sometimes it does. Like, people have been like so burnt out, so hurt by their
Yeah.
organizations, that even when they try to do good things, they can't receive good things. I've seen that.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
trying to
That's
come and do
true.
some initiative, and they're like, whatever, that you're just trying to look good. You're just trying to check that box. You don't
Yeah.
mean it, because they're so hurt. How do
Exactly.
we pull ourselves out of that hole, out of that rut, and turn our organizations around for good?
It requires a shift in mindset. So, first, you have to want to see the change in order for you to start to be the change. So, I think that you have to start thinking about your mindset and understanding your why, as to why you want to make this radical shift. Because it's radical because your organization has been at the other side of the spectrum of toxicity for so long. Now when you want to make that change, in order for people to believe it, instead of people go, ooh, What is that about? Like, green on here. We don't want that.
Exactly.
So you have to first make that mindset shift for yourself. It starts at the top. You have to understand your why and then start articulating your change. Now, you can't be drastic with this. So there's a practice that in a lot of organizations use called nudging, which is that you make gradual changes that will help people to recognize that what your ultimate goal is. And every leader needs to be on board with that. You also need to be willing to be brave enough to make the necessary changes to your management team. So if you have to let go of people who are not on the bus, you need to be okay with that. It doesn't make any sense trying to make those adjustments and still keeping those people who are not on the bus. Sometimes you gotta stop and let people off the bus. And in the moments that you let them off the bus, other people may show up in your organization who are willing to take the mantle and help you move that process along. But nudging is a great way to start to implement changes because it's as it says, right? Gradual, slow but sure, you start to make those changes. And I also think that having examples to look at, what are the organizations around you? And please don't tell me about the Apples and the Amazons and this because they have their own toxicity to deal with. But there are
Yeah.
so many other wonderful organizations out there who are doing great things. As HR professionals, it's our responsibility to research, educate, provide the necessary tools, and then help people in our organizations to implement. It is not our responsibility to take it all on charge and do it. Organizational culture is not an HR thing, it is everybody's business. So when we're talking about dealing with sorry, let me say that again. When we're talking about moving from a toxic culture to a culture that people can actually appreciate and want to work in that organization, it's slow and steady wins the race. Slow and steady wins the race. Having the right people on the bus, making sure that you recognize as HR, it is not your sole responsibility to change a culture. If you think you're going to go in there like Superman and do it, you can't. You cannot. So you need to recognize that you have to work with your leaders to educate, implement the processes that are necessary to help shift organizational culture. Find the right examples, find the right people to help you do it. If you recognize you don't have all of the resources that you need, it's okay to outsource because you don't have to have all of the knowledge. It's okay if you don't.
Yeah.
Just gradually start to make those changes in a way that people can see your intention and be consistent.
Yeah.
Consistency is everything. You can't say you want to change it today, it's not working, and then go back. We're not going back, we're going forward, right? Forward ever, up and on. So if we're doing those things, we have to be willing to stay the course. And we have to be willing to continue to be consistent. If it's not your practice of being that way or doing those things, it's going to take time. So we know that when we're adopting new habits, it takes at least 6 to 8 weeks before something becomes a habit that we're practicing. So we have to be willing to stay the course. And I would say also, understanding the importance of premortems and retrospectives. If you have a plan in place to change your culture, you have to be willing to look at premortems. So, what do I mean by that? What are the things that could go wrong as you implement it? If you understand what could go wrong up front, then as you start to implement things, it's easier for you to deal with them and deal with the challenges because you've already thought about those things. And then as you start to implement these things, then retrospect. What did we get right here? What didn't we get right here? How could we improve that going forward? Having that testing and experimentation approach, agile approach to making these changes is really important as well. So yes, those
Yes.
would be my recommendations.
Those are awesome. And I know my good friend Andrea loves to hear about agile out there. Yes, yes, we can apply those project
Yes,
management scrum principles.
Scrum, absolutely. A little bit of Scrum and a little bit of Kanban never hurt anyone.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can't believe we are so out of time. Like we are so past the time. And but it always happens with this
I'm
topic.
sorry.
It's okay. Listen, we needed to hear all of what was said today. It's just been such a powerful series, and I'm so happy that you were able to fit us in
My
and
pleasure.
end this with a bang. I really appreciate you. Tell us how we can find you, how we can buy the book, how we can sign up. I need to sign up. I saw the link and I was like, you know what? I need to click on this link. So tell us all of that stuff, please, as we wrap up today.
Sure. So you can find me on LinkedIn. Like I said, I live on LinkedIn. So if you message me on LinkedIn, I will respond more likely than by email. But you can find in my LinkedIn profile, I have the links to schedule a preview call, purchase my book. Um, you could look through my LinkedIn feed and you'll see everything that I talk about that's HR related, that relates to HR in the workplace, and understanding your mental health matters. You can also find me at hr@heart.co. And you can also check out my podcast, HR Sound Off, which is on every streaming platform that you could think of right now. So that's how you can find me. And also on Instagram, all of my handles are I am Julie Turney. So you can find me. If you Google me, you'll find me. Trust me.
Oh, you will. Absolutely. I told y'all she's amazing. Yay. Caribbean sisters, listen here. We are rocking it out.
We
And
are
you have to
trying.
get you
We're
to come
trying.
back. You have to come back. I told Sheba last week we are going to do a series on women in leadership.
Ooh, nice.
Listen, so we got to get
Sheba's
you back.
amazing.
He is
Morning,
amazing.
Sheba.
Yes, yes, yes. So thank you again for being here. Thank you to all of you who have been a part of the show and who are commenting. I can't even, I couldn't keep up with you all this time.
I know, right?
Oh, there it is. There is Sheba. Great discussion,
Yay!
lady. Yay. Thank you.
Sheba's
And my dear
amazing.
friend Joyce Johnson, all the way from Houston, Texas. Listen, if
Hi,
y'all need
Joyce.
a sales guru, sales trainer, you got to hook up with Joyce. Joyce, we have to get you on this Women in Leadership series that I'm going to do next. So I'm going to be pulling on all of y'all. The power of a great
We
network.
got you. That's right. That's right. Community is everything. I believe it with all my heart.
Absolutely, absolutely. So please have a great rest of your day and enjoy the weekend. This is, pre-weekend eve for those of us that are
Friday
still
Eve,
slogging it out. Friday
my
Eve.
favorite day of the week, Friday Eve.
I'm telling you, like we're almost there. We're almost there.
A little bit more.
And take some time to take care of you and make you important. Thank you so much, Catherine. She's enjoyed the show. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for being a part of us today. And if you are part of the replay, thank you as well. So take care. And until next time, join us on Level Up Live for Limitless Leaders. I'm your host, Simmone L. Bowe.